QT, welcome back to another Me Monday. And we're going to touch on that a bit, but I actually have Ben with me here today, and we're going to do a whole podcast on specifically my finances as a starving artist. And basically Ben's goal, we talked before the podcast, is that he is trying to educate people just like me on taking the starving out of the artist and just being an artist. Because when you eliminate all of those financial troubles, you can really just focus on your goals without that stress. Am I getting this right, Ben?
That's 100% right. Yeah. Like how you said that, the starving out of the artist.
So do you want to introduce yourself for people? Just kind of say like your name, what you do, and also say your day job, but also say kind of like your YouTube channel and the things that you're working on, and kind of your Instagram and all of the things that you highlight on there.
Cool, yeah. So my name is Ben Garden, and I'm a working professional in Toronto. I don't work in finances. I'll say that up front. I always say that up front to everyone I meet. I'm working in data analytics within the marketing industry, and so I focus on data all day long. And then in my personal life, I am a heavy investor, heavy saver. I've always been planning for financial independence and retiring early. It's just always been who I am kind of deep down, like as a core trait of my personality. And when I hit 30, I think I just wanted to start talking to the world about something, and I wanted it to be something that was about who I was. And when I kind of did like a self-audit, I remember I was like walking on the lakeshore, walking my dog a few days, and I was thinking to myself, like, you know, this is really who I am. Whether I'd be talking about this or not publicly, I would be saving and investing my money on my own, still planning all this. So why not just do this publicly? Why not help other people, teach people kind of the beginning steps to get started, and at least so that it's a level playing field, so at least everyone has the information, and then they can decide what to do with it after that, if they want to pursue it or not.
Yeah, it's really up to them at that point. When did you turn 30?
I turned 30 2 years ago.
2 years ago? So you're 32 now?
Yeah, I'm 32, so I've been doing this for 2 years now. And so when I hit 30, that's when I always had my domain name, benjamingarden.com. We used to do some photography, so that was all pretty much photography stuff on there. And when I thought about what I want to do like for the rest of my life, it was like, you know, I want to talk about this. I want to help people about financial stuff. I want to get them out of financial problems that they're having. I want them to be able to plan for the future and literally get to a point where they don't have to think about money or stress about money at all. Because I feel like that's very much a trait of myself. Like I go to bed without thinking about money, and it's like it takes so much stress off of your life, your work life, your art, your relationships, like everything. So I want to get people to that point.
Okay, well, this podcast is meant for you to kind of interview me about my finances, but I definitely have questions for you if you're open to them. Just because I think you giving me advice, I kind of need to know where you come from as well, because we probably come from very different backgrounds and situations. So me receiving your advice might be difficult if you don't know exactly what my situation is.
Yeah,
but I'm going to give you a chance. And hopefully everyone listening gives Ben a chance, because I'm pretty willing. If you can do that for me, that would be amazing. But honestly, good luck. So yeah, do you want to go ahead and...
I accept the challenge.
Where do you want to... Actually, you know what? I'm going to... Okay, well, we've got time. I'm going to start it off, and then we can kind of get into it. The more that I tell you, the more questions I'm sure you'll have. But you know that I did an event recently. So Ben and I were talking before we started the podcast about, you know, being an artist, you kind of have to fund your own stuff. It's not really coming from anywhere. And I do it because I love it. Like, I'm putting money into my craft and my artwork because that's just what I enjoy. But yeah, of course, that's a strain. So the event that I hosted, do you want me to give you numbers of how much everything cost?
Yeah, I want to know everything.
Yeah, okay.
If
so
you can share.
Very, I tried to keep it small as possible. So the rental space, it was 2 hours that I rented it for. They had a minimum, of 2 hours. So per hour, I think it was 75, minimum 2 hours. So 100 and what is that, 50? So it was 150 plus tax, 167, something like that. 167 for rental. Then I also did some like gift bags and alcohol and stuff like that for the women that came. So the amount that I spent on that, just at the LCBO, it wasn't a lot because I got those like little bottles that cost like $4 to $9 each. I spent about $85. So what are we at already? 245?
Yeah, something around there.
And then I think on top of that, I just went and got like chocolates and gift bags and stuff like that. I think I spent about $35. Can you keep track while what are we at? 270?
Yeah. Close to 300.
270. And then I went to Starbucks and I got 10 gift cards with each had $5 on them, so that's 50. So what are we at?
Over 300.
Over $300.
Is that more? Is there more?
That's it.
Okay.
So just over $300 for a 2-hour event.
So the expenses are racking up, but I already like how I think a tremendous amount of what you spent is on giving to other people, which is actually something I'm super into. So don't let the business side, don't judge based on the fact that I come from the business world. All the financial stuff I teach is all value based. So it's like how to be a nice person, how to give back, how to help other people. So I like the fact that a lot of what you've spent is purely focused on giving to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did you charge anything for the event?
No, I didn't. It was free.
Okay.
It was my first event.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I think that was a good move.
Yeah. For the event, I wanted to talk about this for Me Monday as well because I shoot high. So the cap in that venue is 45 people to 50 people. 7 girls showed up, so there was 8 of us, which is great. I was still happy. I promoted it 5 days before, or advertised it, whatever, on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, and I'm making the most out of that content. It was supposed to be one video, and now I've turned it into episodic thing. So now every day, and I posted another one today. It was a mashup. I did, a little teaser. I don't know if you saw it on Instagram.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
It was black
Did you
and
like
white.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
It was a teaser.
Yeah.
People liked it.
I watched it and then I had to wait for it to restart so I could turn the volume up and watch it again.
Nice. So yeah, anyways, I did a teaser, and then my story was first and the best one. Sorry, girls, but I killed it. So it was my story, and then the next day I did Heather's, which was one of the girls, and then today I did Erin's, and I've got a couple more. So there's going to be 5 videos in total, whereas first it was going to be 1 video. But I figured because, excuse me if I keep coughing, I'm still sick. I figured because not that many people showed up, how am I going to make the most out of my money and my time and whatever? And I was like, now I have 5 videos. So that's kind of the way that my brain works. But anyways, I was still happy with the event because everyone that came out obviously supports me and likes what I'm doing and messaged me after. They all had a good time. So that's really what was most important for me. And also a learning experience and seeing, how much further I can take it. Obviously learning that 5 days is not enough advertising. And I thought, oh, whatever. I'm kind of that person where I'm in the moment, I'm oh, whatever, who shows up, shows up. But when the time comes, you want as many people to show up. You want it to be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I learned that I need to be a little less spontaneous and really think about the logistics of things and remember that feeling of in the moment, I'm going to want it to be successful. Even if beforehand I'm oh, whatever, it's such a free spirit. When it comes down to it, it needs to be good, right?
Yeah. Actually, there's 2 things I want to talk about. So I noticed that you said that you had planned this event and you kind of wanted to get as much content out of it as possible. Yeah. That's awesome for trying to grow or trying to maximize your time when you're doing something is to try and batch it. So it's you have one event, but you're filming it, you're recording it, you're talking to people. So you're trying to get as much content out of it as you can in either short little 1 minute clips on Instagram or for your podcast or for YouTube channel or whatever. So that was a good call on your part to try and get the most out of it, because when you think about the expense, it really is you're investing in your project that you're doing or this thing that you're doing. So you want to get as much out of it. And the other thing was just lost my mind.
It's okay.
What was the other thing? I think it was I think the fact that you did what mattered, which was you're talking about advertising and you remember for the next time that you want it to be a really big event, a really successful event at the time, but beforehand you may have either rushed the advertisement or didn't spend as much time growing it. Yeah. I do that sometimes because I think I know for myself, and I'm not saying this about you, but I know this about myself, I use it kind of like a scapegoat. If it didn't turn out well, but I also didn't put a lot of time into the advertising and really telling everyone I want this to be a great event and it is going to be a great event, and it turns out being a mediocre event, then I know that I don't get let down because I know I didn't put so much time into it.
Absolutely, you're totally right.
But and I think people do that because we're scared of pouring everything into it, and then it fails, and then you go home and you're wow, I just spent a month advertising that and 2 people showed up.
100%. I think you're totally right. Like, you can call me out on that. You're being very nice about it. Just, you can be direct and say, I think you were just setting yourself up for failure, because obviously it was my first event and I was self-conscious about it. I didn't know who was going to show up.
Yeah,
right. I didn't know how
well.
many people cared. So I think I definitely set my standards lower, and just like you're saying, didn't put as much of myself into it for that less disappointment later, which you're totally right. And I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. That's one of those things I learned in the last 2 years. It's kind of like, just pour yourself into it, and it should be like, if it's a disaster, it should be a massive disaster where you did lose all that time putting yourself into it, because that's how you eventually hit like a huge success. Is like dedicating all that time that it needs to into the event and all that stuff. I can't really, I mean, I'm saying all this, but I can't really talk about specifically event planning, because I honestly plan to host an event myself, but I haven't done it yet.
Right.
But I know for other stuff that I've done, it's like you really got to pour yourself into it.
Absolutely. It's really warm in here, so I'm going to open the window. Can you keep us entertained for 3 seconds, Ben?
I can. So maybe while the windows get opened, I'll just back up my story about why I'm talking about financial stuff, and why I think people should pay attention, or at least entertain my thoughts for a minute. So I don't come from the financial world, and I don't have a financial education through school, but something I do have is being a practitioner of my own finances. So I started when I was 16. I think a lot of people didn't really start thinking about money until like their 20s, or some not even until the 30s. And I've talked to people that are in their 40s and they're like late 40s, and they're just starting to plan their retirement. And when you start planning that late, it gets really risky, because you have to do a lot of risky things with your money to make it grow that fast to retire. And that's just retirement. So here we're talking about funding your artist dream. So I was always focused on money when I was young, because I always knew that I wanted freedom to do whatever it is that I wanted to do, whether it was build up a large lump sum of money and start photography full time, or travel, or whatever. Now I'm realizing that I'm probably gonna spend the rest of my life teaching people and helping people like realize their dream through finances. So I've been doing this for a long time, like in my own personal life. Haven't talked about it publicly, but since I was 16, I've been investing, saving, all that kind of stuff. And I'll just say, like, it's really nice to always be able to, let's say you need a new camera to support something that you're trying to do, you have the ability to free up enough money to do that. And you're not always like paycheck to paycheck, that kind of thing.
Can I ask you though, just so that I know when you try to give me advice, did you come from a family that had money?
So the answer would be no. So I never grew up with money available to me. I grew up and I thought that we were like broke ass poor. Like I all the toys that I had growing up as a kid, they all came from the Amity, which is like a secondhand like store. I remember going there on Saturdays, and my parents would say like, oh, you can buy one out of the bin, and sometimes you can go and get 2 for like $1 or something, and they'd be like broken toys, like action figures without an arm or something like that. So that was literally my childhood, was like just riddled with adversity. Like never had a Nintendo, like had to go to friends' houses to play games and stuff like that. My parents did have a computer at home because they saw the importance of like technology, but in terms of like games and all the stuff that like a young boy would be interested in, like I don't know, we just never had that at home. It was never like available to us. We were always told like, if you get money from your grandmother for your birthday, you can go buy something new today, or like we can hold on to it for you, and they were like secretly investing it. I didn't know that. And then, we can go to like this donation bin and get like 2 toys on the weekend. They would be broken. But like as a kid, like I didn't know the difference, and I was super happy. But, never really had, was never really like given anything. My family's always focused more on like health and happiness and not having to worry about money. But and that mainly comes from my parents. So my parents are self-taught investors and that kind of stuff. They had regular jobs like anyone else. But they just realized that they didn't want to work forever. So they like hatched that plan on their own. And then growing up in that kind of environment where 2 parents, so nowadays it's called FIRE. It's called Financial Independence and Retiring Early. That's what the FIRE stands for, FIRE. So they did that before it had like the cool fire name.
Okay, cool. So they at least they knew about all of those things.
Yeah,
and they shared that with you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
and that's what I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
Like and maybe that's where this comes from is like, hey guys, like I grew up with all this, and I'm not gonna take it for granted. Like obviously it's a great environment to grow up in. Obviously you didn't get to have all these cool things like everyone else had to, like everyone else got, but I got this knowledge. Like that was kind of what I grew up with. So I'm sharing it. I just want people to have what and that's kind of like how I teach too. It's kind of like the lessons, like literally the same way my parents taught me. I'm trying to teach other people because that's the way I learned it.
Very cool. Okay, great. So what do you want to ask me?
So I want to, for all the listeners, I want to deep dive into her finances.
Yeah, Jelena's finances. Just in case Ben forgot how to pronounce my name, because it happens all the time. My name is pronounced Jelena, Ben.
I was trying to slip that through, but it didn't.
Don't worry. I'll catch it because it's been 24 years of my life that no one... I interviewed someone else and we were hanging out and he was calling me... what was he calling me? Jelena, which I get a lot. Even though I kept saying my name, like I kept trying to like fit it in there.
name dropping your own name.
Yeah, name dropping my own name, being like Jelena, like still Jelena or Jelena, Jelena, Helena, everything Jelena, like yell.
Jelena.
Yell is my nickname too. So
Yeah,
just remember,
okay.
like you're yelling at somebody.
Did your mom ever yell at you like that?
Yeah, yell, Jelena. No, my mom doesn't really yell. But no, that is my nickname. So now you know. So now you don't have to feel uncomfortable. Anyways, what do you want to...
Okay, cool. So whenever I meet with someone, there's basically some basic numbers that I need to know to... And first of all, I never judge anyone.
Sweating.
Not just because the window was shut earlier.
Yeah.
There's basically, there are basic numbers I need to understand with everyone because I can't assume anything and I don't judge anyone because everyone comes from a different background, like 100%. So everyone's coming from a different place, and like there's reasons why people have debt or don't have debt. Like it all matters. So
all right, let's
I think
get
the
in
context
there.
matters. So okay, so do you have debt currently?
Yes.
Is it a lot of debt?
Don't say it like that. Yeah, I would say it's a lot. I would say it's a lot. It's
Okay.
So my student loans are almost $26,000.
Okay.
My credit card, I actually just raised my credit card limit to $2,000. I've had it at $1,000 since I was 16, just to play it safe, because I've never had like a good high-paying job. But I actually raised it to get this camera, like you were
Nice.
talking about earlier, saying wouldn't it be nice to be able to just like get a camera and not have to think about it?
Yeah.
Well, for me, because I was actually taking your advice as well and opened up a TFSA and put $100 in, and now I'm putting in the minimum every month, and then I spent $300 on the event. I still wanted this camera, and I was like, I can't afford all these things at once. I'm going to raise my credit card limit, and I'm going to get this camera. So now my credit card limit is at $2,000, so that puts me at $28,000 in debt.
So in terms of your credit card debt, so you're saying you put the camera on your card,
Yeah.
and then do you have the money to pay that off now or no?
No.
Okay, so your plan is to come up with the money in like the next 30 days to then pay your card off, or
No.
will you pay it off, like pay the minimum?
I'll pay more than the minimum,
Okay.
but I will not pay it off in 30 days.
Okay,
Not the entirety of it.
cool. Mental note.
Yeah.
We're circling back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I
know that that's a problem. First, I want you to know that I know that these things are not okay.
Step one is to know that you know.
Yeah. But I saw it as an investment, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I saw it as something. And the thing is, maybe you believe me or maybe you don't, but I did have, up until a couple weeks ago, it was $1,000 since I was 16. So that's 8 years that I never raised my credit card limit. So I think I was being pretty responsible. And I really did get it because I was like, I want this. I've never bought anything really expensive. All of my phones are this one that I have now currently is a gift for my family. Before that was always hand-me-downs for my brother. So I've never bought a big piece of, even this laptop, this would be the biggest thing. My brother paid for half of it. So I've never spent a big chunk of money on something like this before. So my camera would be my biggest after my laptop.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
That was just me defending myself for 10 minutes because I feel bad about my situation. Go on, Ben.
So I guess the other areas I need to ask about are, do you have like cash savings, like money in the bank?
Like in my checkings?
Yeah.
Hardly. Especially because I paid my rent today.
Okay.
So I paid my rent today, and also my student loans would have come out last night. So my student loans, do you want to know how much they are?
In total?
No.
Like the payment?
The payment, the minimum
Oh, okay.
payment that I'm supposed to pay.
Sure.
So you're like, you just
Just for the
smile.
listeners,
I
just
feel
for
like he just like wants to know this because he's curious, and
just digging
it
all this
doesn't
out.
matter at all. No. So the minimum, if I just do what they plan, that's like 9.5 years. It's $300 at the end of every month.
Okay.
And it's a fluctuating interest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
based
it's
on
not
what the interest
standard.
rate is.
It's not like 5%.
Yeah.
It
If they raise
goes
the
up and
interest
down.
rate, then yours will go up. Yeah. Okay. And in terms of emergency fund, which I consider separate from money in your bank, which
Yeah.
is like if you lost your job or if something terrible happened and you have no more income coming in, like
That's right.
can't spend those pizzas anymore,
No.
then like what would happen? Do you have an emergency fund?
No, I have
Okay.
it's called my dad.
Your parents?
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's
lost
a
my
lot of
job.
people's
I
emergency
lost my
funds.
job,
Yeah.
and I think you know this. I was fired
Oh yeah.
in November, and definitely the amount of money that I lost in those few months was like shocking because you don't even realize when you're not getting, especially because I was a server, I was getting money every single day. But when you don't work for a month in Toronto, it takes a big bite out of you.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, because you still have to pay your rent, you still have to pay your bills, and then you have to live off every day. So if I, like, for example, if I had not gotten a job after like 3 months, maybe, I would have had to leave this apartment and move back to Waterloo. 3 months, definitely would have capped it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
1
sense.
month, manageable. 3 months, I would have been done.
Yeah.
That's all it would have taken.
That's actually that's everyone. So that's
Yeah.
not don't feel bad
Yeah.
about that kind of a situation. Like that's actually everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. The economy is just floating along like literally 1 or 2 paychecks away from like disaster. But that's I don't know, that's the way that everyone treats it.
And it's definitely like I mentioned. I mean, I talk about my parents because I find it kind of rude when people don't admit and share the fact that their parents help them, because I'm like, your parents work hard. Your parents work probably harder than you work for their money. And my parents are kind enough, willing enough to, when I ask them for money, and I try not to, and I always try to ask for like less and less, you know, and only what I need, they always give it to me. And if I were to lie and say, no, I do everything on my own, like that's so disrespectful to them. They work hard,
Yeah.
you know,
And
they always have.
Imagine them in your situation, but then
Yeah.
they have a kid who obviously has expenses, like
Yeah.
they need to feed the kid and like
Yeah.
there's things that they need.
Yeah.
So and they still made it through all those times and like
Yes.
supported you throughout that whole time. So I don't know how many years, but
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I'm not a kid anymore. I just turned 24, so my poor dad. I want to stop asking for money from my poor dad, who's, you know, he's
maybe
getting
after this
older and older.
episode.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
This is where it all turns around.
I hope so. I hope so.
Okay, so we talked about debt. We talked about current money that you have, an emergency fund, which is important. Recommend that to everyone. And
But I feel like you're giving me problems and not solutions.
no, I'm just highlighting the problems. That's important.
But how do I... Okay, go on.
Super important to identify all the problems.
Okay.
So the way I think about it is, everyone on the podcast can't see my hands, but there's money coming in through the top. You basically have like a bucket. Let's say it's like pouring rain.
Okay.
And like it's pouring rain all the time for everyone. Everyone's outside. Everyone has a bucket to catch as much water as they can. That represents your income coming in. The bucket is how much you can catch. That's like your paycheck or something, and your bank account. And then everyone's bucket is leaking at a certain rate, and it's a different rate for everyone. So some of us spend a lot of money a lot faster than other people. A lot of people are really good at holding onto their money no matter what. Like they're penny pinchers and they go use coupons, and they will literally spend like half an hour walking to a place to like buy that specific thing with a coupon versus just ordering it on like Uber Eats or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of situation. So it's pouring rain. Everyone has a bucket. Everyone has a bucket of a different size, which represents different like income, pay, salaries and stuff like that. And everyone's bucket's leaking. the only thing here is that you actually get to control how much it's leaking. So you can like put your finger in the hole and plug it, and you're not actually gonna be leaking that much water anymore. And so that's really where you can intervene, because there's really three things. There's your income, there's your expenses, and then there's everything that you do with your money in between. And that's it. And all of that adds up to the same. So all the money coming in eventually will all get spent unless you save some and put some aside or invest it. So I know that we're highlighting all the problems, but so one area that I would draw attention to is that you can actually control all your expenses. You can plug the hole in your bucket and like stop the water from leaking out, but it takes a lot of work, and a lot of times our expenses, like where we're losing money, is a habit. So it'll be like, for me, I know I buy a lot of coffee, like working downtown. That's like a luxury to me. I can just like walk out and like enjoy a walk and like get a coffee prepared by a barista and enjoy that, and that just brings joy to my life, so I keep doing that. But that's a lot of money, like spending like, I don't know, $5 or $4 or something like that on a nice quality coffee in Toronto is expensive, especially to do that like twice a day. Like in our office, sometimes we'll go twice a day or once a day. That really adds up, like after a year. That's pretty crazy. So if you can cut that out, stuff like that, at the end of the year, you might have an extra like $1,000 that just was going to coffee, which you can't even remember drinking, maybe. And you could.
My coffee was made at home.
You know, there you go. That's the way to go. So, I think maybe like right away, what I always recommend to people is jot down all your income, whether that's like, this is how much I get per paycheck, and like on average maybe tips or something like that. Any kind of income, capture all of that on a piece of paper. Write down all your expenses per month, like how much you spend on rent. That's obviously a huge one. And then how much you spend on groceries and like transportation, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully you're bringing in more money than you're spending, like in your expenses.
So let's say, because I think I am pretty good in terms of, I'm not a crazy partier, and I don't shop a lot, and I don't buy all these expensive things. I try to really just like go to work and come home and pay my bills. So for example, someone like me who is trying to be responsible and being good with my money. Imagine like I work 2 jobs, and my lifestyle is, let's say, I never eat out. I always eat in. I minimize my transportation expenses. I don't take Uber. I only take the TTC. And I, like all of those things, get rid of all of those things. I never have coffee out. And I break even, let's say. What do you say there? So
then you need more income.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's really hard for a lot of people, because the one thing that we really, the quick answer is like nobody can really increase their income on demand. Like if I could increase my income by $1,000 every month, of course I would do it.
Exactly.
Everyone would do that.
Right.
And so that's why I always say focus on the expenses first, because those are the things you can really control, other than like even your rent. I mean, you can still move back in with your parents if you had to.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really want to, but
no.
The answer to that one really
I love them. They're amazing. But no.
So the next thing then would be to focus on your income. And that doesn't mean going into work and saying like, you need to pay me double or I'm out of here, because a lot of times they would say, okay, get out of here. Like you can't really choose that. There are certain things you can do depending on your job that can increase your income. Like if you, so I would work in a corporate like office job where you get paid a salary per year. They take your taxes away, and they take some more money away for like benefits, but then they give you some benefits back and that kind of stuff. And at the end of the year, you like talk to your boss and you're like, hey, I worked really hard this year. Can I have some more money for next year? Like you ask for a raise and all that kind of stuff.
I actually asked for a raise today.
Oh, okay. How'd it go?
Can
you share that?
I just emailed him today asking for a raise,
and
I think it's a pretty good reason why. I mean, I work. You know where I work. I'm not gonna meet up with him. I emailed the guy. We'll see what happens. But I think it was a good reason. I think I have a pretty good chance.
So what I always recommend for
asking for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
maybe I should have waited until I met with you. It's fine. I'm sure it's going to go well. I'm not too concerned about it.
I'll give you some ammo that you can come back with to him or her next time when they say no. Or if they say no.
I feel like he's going to say yes, to be honest. But anyways,
send
he
the
might say no.
positive vibes out there.
I am. What, you're doubting me?
No.
Anyways, continue what you were saying. We'll get back to that.
So in terms of asking for a raise, you need to think about it in terms of, or at least I always think about it in terms of their perspective. So you're working for them, you're providing some kind of value for them. And I think of a job the same thing as I would think of as any other way to make money. So for example, like you're recording a podcast right now. Maybe someday the podcast is going to be is going to supplement your income.
And it will.
Very, very positive about that. That was a test. So the same way that you could spend a lot of time pouring a lot of time into a podcast, and then hopefully it spins off, or it will, according to Jelena, it will spin off like income someday. Let's say you spend an hour every day doing that. At the end of the year, you spent so much time, and I guess we hit the end of the recording for the video.
Is that going to be fine for you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just press the button again in a minute.
Okay. Why don't you just press it now?
Oh, okay.
Don't worry. I can entertain this podcast. Ben was surprised that I just do like a one take. It's like, you don't stop. I'm like, no, we don't stop.
I know.
We don't stop here. We just keep talking.
I mean, Jelena has awesome like audio equipment. I just have a lapel mic and a microphone, and whenever I film stuff for YouTube, I sound like an idiot when I talk for a long amount of time, straight into a camera. This might be okay, but because I'm not staring into the camera. If I stare into the camera, I need to like edit myself, like cut out all the blanks and the thinkings and.
But this is what I tell people too. It's never as bad as you think. And I've told this to people who are kind of like you, who are like, well, what if I stutter? What if I stop? I'm like, you'll listen back and it's probably 3 seconds of empty space, and no one cares about that. Because that's real life. You have a conversation and sometimes there's some empty space. Yeah. But anyways, we were talking about raises.
So I always think that you want to think about it from their perspective. If they can get more value out of you, and in terms of your job, it's when you go to work and you put in, like, let's say you put in 8 hours in a shift, they're getting 8 hours of your time and your labor, and they pay you for those 8 hours, and then that's it. Like, everyone wipes their hands off, and then you're done. And if you want more money, you have to come back and give them another 8 hours, and they get another 8 hours out of you, and then they pay you for another 8 hours. So if you can get them more value somehow, which is the hard part, it's trying to figure out how to get them more value, then you can ask for more money, because they're getting more value out of you, which you can use that to justify that they should be compensating you more.
Well, can I tell you my situation?
Yeah.
Well, I think that he should be compensating me more, because when I first started, obviously I start at the minimum, and now only a few months in, I'm working by myself, which means that I have to take customer complaints, and I have to give refunds and all of the things that a manager position would be doing. And I'm by myself. So I think I'm basically a manager.
There you go. That's a perfect one.
And that's pretty much it. I did add in the fact that I mentioned to him so that he could see it from my perspective, even though he probably doesn't care, but he is a very nice guy. And I said, the expenses for me are not sustainable in terms of transporting back home after a late shift. So I work until 2 a.m. and I don't want to take the night bus. And I've taken the night bus. I've given it a chance. It's not a great experience. And I also think it's unfair. And I do my best to just use Uber Pool, which is the cheapest, but it's still $10 a night. And I work 4 nights of the week until 2 a.m. So that's $40 right there a week, which is a heavy expense for someone who makes minimum. So I shared that with him, just saying, if we can come to a compromise in terms of you paying a percentage or us working out transportation, or, I'm working these solo shifts, it's just not sustainable for me. And I want us to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair?
I think that's really fair. And I think from their perspective, I think it might be stronger to go with the fact that you're saying, like, I'm doing my regular job plus the managerial responsibilities.
Yeah.
Because they're basically not paying a manager to do those things. They're getting by you picking up the slack.
Exactly.
But really you're doing like 2 jobs, or at least a job and at least a half.
Yeah.
Like at least part of the other managerial job. And they're not paying you like a manager either.
No.
That's the problem too. So you're being paid at the lower level, doing the higher level work.
I'm doing the same as someone else who's getting paid more than me.
Yeah. And not only are you not getting paid the same as them, you're not getting paid at all for like any of those responsibilities.
Yeah.
So I would lead with that and really hammer that home and say, like, hey, I'm literally saving you like half of someone's salary, a manager's salary, by me doing both these jobs. Can you pay me like somewhere in the middle, if not just like promote you to a manager, and then you just do like everything. If he wants,
like, this is the thing, this is where it becomes tricky, because I like this job because I don't want to go home and think about this job. Yeah. I want to go there and come home and honestly, I do a good job, but I don't want stress in my life. So like, if I could get a raise without technically getting the title of manager, that would be my ideal world. But obviously he's going to be like, you need to take the position of manager if you want this raise. And I'm going to have to be like, all right. That's my dilemma. Cause I want to be like,
Just give me the money.
You know what though? I always think about it in terms
Without
of
the title.
I always think I think differently about it though. I always think if you're gonna do the responsibility, you should get the compensation for it, and then I think the title should match like the pay and the responsibility. So if they're paying you at a higher level and you're doing more work, they should call you a manager and they should pay you like a manager and they should like treat you like a manager.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's like three things there. There's like the title, the pay, and then the responsibilities. I don't think it works if you just take the one. Like if you're just doing if you're doing all the responsibilities but not getting paid, that's not fair. And if you're being called a manager but you're not being paid a manager, that's not fair.
Yeah. But what if I want to do the duties of a manager but not be called a manager?
But you're still doing the responsibilities. Maybe you're just not the stress and the
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want that. Well, that's life.
Fine.
So that's how I would approach asking for more money or getting a raise is really just 100% look at it from their side. How can you bring them more value through something? And that's where you get a little bit creative.
Yeah.
Like either do something beyond your responsibilities for a while and long enough to like say, hey, pay attention. I'm doing way above and beyond my job.
Yeah.
I think I should be compensated a little bit more. It never, ever, ever works out if you just say like, hey, it's a new year. Like I want more money.
Yeah.
Without any kind of backup. If you come with some backup of like, these are my points, A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah. I gave him a few points. I was like, just said it's quite a bit of work for someone by themselves, but also I'm taking the responsibilities that were never a part of it.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, I think I did a good job.
Yeah. And it also like 100% of it reflects on your, like your performance. Like if you're a superstar at the office or the workplace or whatever, and you're constantly the one doing great and not making mistakes, and like you're catching other people's mistakes and nobody's catching your mistakes because you're not making any.
Yeah.
I think it always works out well.
Yeah.
So the performance, like performing well, I think is super important as well.
I perform well, yeah. I think I'm fine.
Cool.
Shout out if my bosses are listening to this podcast. I know some of my managers will. Hey guys. Yeah. But really, like, I even think about it in terms of like I've been a server before, and the money that comes in through that is just so much more than what I'm doing now. But I enjoy this job, so I'm balancing like my happiness,
Yeah.
And the thing is, this job provides me also with more time, because like I'm not. Sometimes I am pretty tired after, but like I think serving is so exhausting that when I come home, I can't work on things like this.
Yeah.
Whereas with this job, with low stress, I can actually come home and work on the things that I want to like move forward.
I think that's a super important point. So taking that to the extreme, like there are some super high level executives that work in companies that they get compensated like ridiculous salaries per year, but they are literally just on call all the time and they just work 24/7.
Yeah.
Like they literally have a cell phone attached to them, and on like Sundays when they're playing with their kids, they're literally still working because someone can call them up and they have to answer questions and do some work. Like they're never free. And having that, if you want that kind of a separation between work and your personal life, there is definitely a balance. Going after more money, and that's an important point I want to talk about right now, is when I say like you can increase your income doing different things, a lot of people literally solve all their money problems by just increasing their income, and that's it. They never focus on their expenses. So that's when you end up with a situation where you're a director at a company, like a really high position in a company, and you want more money, so you perform a little bit better, you ask for a raise, you get a promotion, and you become like a vice president of a business, but now your more time is being taken up and you're getting compensated a little bit more, but they haven't learned the expenses aspect of it. So they have more expenses because now they upgrade their life. So instead of driving like a really nice car, like let's say they're driving like a Mercedes or something like that, and then they get a huge promotion and now they're driving like a Porsche or like a sports car, they just have more expenses. So that even though their salary went up a huge amount, their overall finances didn't end up any better. They actually have more debt. They might have more ability to pay off their debt, but the problem, they're in reality, like they actually don't. They take on more debt. They get a bigger house. They like upgrade their life.
Yeah.
They take more vacations. They're saving less. Like it's this weird, you get caught up in it. So it's super important. I always tell people that you got to build these like habits, these little money habits now. And it's actually so much easier to do that when you don't have money. And that's something that that's actually something that my parents drilled in when we were kids. It was like, get your expenses under control when you are young and you don't have money. Because when you start to make money, you get hooked onto it and your lifestyle just grows and you keep upgrading it and you never actually learn.
Yeah. Okay. So your piece of advice for me would be I need a bigger income. Higher
I think
income.
you need more income, or you could even do multiple streams of income. So
Which is, go into that.
Yeah, which is what you're doing right now. So I think one of the things that attracted me to you was when I heard I think it was your first podcast episode, or maybe your second one, where you were talking about yourself, and you said like, hey, I started this because I got fired. And like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl has her head on straight. Like, that's the thing that you need to do, is when you, like, when life hits you, you actually do something, you react and you do something about it. You don't just like get knocked down and then mope around and like feel bad for yourself. You actually like respond by doing something, which is usually taking action, like you did. You started this whole podcast, which I think is awesome. I'm not sure what episode you're on right now.
I think I'm almost this episode actually. Here, let me look up, because I'm actually also curious, because I'm going to post this today for Me Monday, because I think it's going to be a really great episode. But let me look up right now. 23T. The last one was It's Poppin'. Did you listen to that one?
I don't think I did.
It was pop art. She was a black pop art artist.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So this would have been 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. You're number 29.
Nice.
So almost 30 in 3 months. Yeah.
That's awesome. Something funny I just want to share right now is I literally have 3 podcasts on my phone. One of them is The Canadian Couch Potato, which I recommend everyone could listen to. It's about personal finance in kind of an easy way. The guy's voice is actually really easy to listen to as well, and he explains things really basically. The other one is a Gary Vee podcast, so he talks about marketing and digital marketing, all that kind of stuff. And the third one's yours. I don't know. I only have 3.
I don't know why mine is on that list, but thank you very much. I'm very flattered. But yeah, number 29. So anyways, keep talking about how great I'm doing.
That was about it.
Oh, that's the end of the podcast.
What else is there? So, okay, so let's talk about the multiple streams of income thing. So I think it's super important in investing and in life to diversify your income. So for you, I would say that you have one stream of income. You have your job,
Right.
which you just
Well, I have 2 jobs, but yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. So you have 2
That's okay.
jobs.
I have
Sorry.
2 jobs.
Do they both pay the same, or is one heavier than the other?
You know what? And if you include tips, so the one, I only work about 8 or 12 hours at the one, pays minimum wage. I get very small amount of tips. The one that I work more full time pays minimum wage, but tips are higher.
Okay. So you could have like better days on the ones with tips.
Exactly.
Potentially.
Exactly.
Okay, so you have two streams of income. One of them's like pretty fixed. You just ask for a raise. The other one is good, and it has like some variability with the income. So that's good. You have 2, but you did mention that. Do you currently break even now? Is that what you were saying if we go back, or was that was a hypothetical?
It was pretty much my situation, except I would say that I make more than I break even.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you have 2 streams of income.
In terms of my expenses, yes.
Right.
In terms of like my income and my expenses, I can afford my expenses. But then I need to figure out I have to pay my debts.
Except for all that credit card debt.
So really, like, I do, but then all of that extra money goes into my debts.
Right.
But yes, I do.
Okay, cool. So so that's good. You have 2 streams of income, which is basically saying that if you lost your job, one of those 2 jobs, you would still have some kind of paycheck coming in that you could at least survive, still buy groceries and like pay your rent and stuff.
Yes.
Until you find another job, and then you would go back to 2. So that's good. A lot of people just have 1.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that end up in relationships and they end up having kids and stuff like that, they also only have 1. And if the one person loses their income, that family is like in a lot of trouble. So so that's important too, is to just think about generating more. Yeah.
So do you think it's a good idea that I have 2 jobs?
I think it all depends on,
because I'm tired.
I know. So the answer for me used to be like always follow the money. Now it's always follow happiness. So if you're happy what you're doing, I would say keep doing it. If you're not happy what you're doing, I say make a change. Because I think that for example, this podcast, like I think you have fun making the podcast, and I think you're good at it, and I think those
Thank
two
you.
things feed off each other. So because you really enjoy it, I think you pour yourself into it more. So potentially, if Jelena has this podcast and I start a podcast, but I hate podcasting every day, she's gonna do way better than me, no matter who's actually like better at doing it, because she's gonna pour her heart and soul into it, whereas I'm just gonna do it to like make a paycheck, if that's the case.
That's right.
So you're gonna outlast me, and you're gonna outperform me, and you're gonna post more often, and you're gonna be more energetic, and you're gonna beat me.
Yeah.
So I always say go after what makes you actually happy, because that's usually what you can end up making more money in the end. Plus, you're just happier. Like what's
Right.
the point of life if you're not happy?
Right. Absolutely.
So in terms of multiple streams of income, this would be a potential one. You just need to keep
Going.
growing it, until you get like sponsors, and we're sponsored by whatever.
Yeah.
Some tea brand.
Yeah. I was thinking how cute would that be if I had a little tea. Do you know anything about getting sponsored? Someone told me don't look for that. It'll come to you.
I would say the same thing. So I don't have any sponsors in anything that I do,
Yeah.
but I decided a long time ago that I was just going to do it for free, like literally as long as possible, and then think about making money or monetizing it later.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good approach, only because, I don't know, I feel like it's more like authentic, like your
Right.
your listeners, not your
Yeah.
readers, your listeners. People can like sniff out an ad like a mile away.
Yeah.
And I hate like when I listen to a podcast for a long time and then suddenly they have ads, I'm just skipping them anyway, and it's annoying. And I don't know. I think it's just better to just be more authentic to you. So like that's the thing. Like if you want to have ads, you can have ads, but I would say do as long as possible without.
Yeah. Just keep doing what I'm doing, keep working hard and putting more into it, and then eventually you think.
Because the thing is, so this is all about, it's the same thing with asking for money at work. It's all about leverage, which is, and that's just a fancy word for saying like you owe me one. So if you build up your podcast and you get more and more listeners and everyone loves it because you're talking directly to them and you're responding to them and you meet them in person at these events and you're actually like a real person and they can see you and you like take selfies with them, like you're an actual person, you build up leverage. So it means that advertisers will see your brand and you'll see your podcast and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this girl is like, she's like the real deal. She's growing. They'll see your numbers growing. And they can also see that you're not taking like ad placements, which means that eventually you can charge more for ad placements because you're basically like pushing them off as long as possible.
I got you.
Until they offer you a number that's so ridiculous that you're going to say yes.
I can't wait.
And then you're a sellout. No, I'm just kidding. Financially, that would be a good decision to accept money at some point.
Guys, I'm going to have to do it. If it comes my way, I'm sorry. My dad will be very happy. He doesn't care about that stuff. He's like, sell out.
It's like sell out right now. So how long can this podcast go?
This?
We're at, this episode.
This episode?
I'm just seeing the number get really
as long
high.
as you want.
Okay. Because I want to go back and talk about your credit card stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
See, usually my podcasts run an hour.
Okay.
I like to keep it there. I will say, for different reasons, I like people to listen to the entire thing, and I think people are more likely to listen to it if it's around an hour, rather than it being like 2 and go crazy, But also another financial reason is that I use what is it called? My podcast host is Buzzsprout. Have you heard of Buzzsprout?
Yeah, I think so.
I used to be on Spreaker, and then I moved to Buzzsprout. I just liked, it was just like way more user friendly. I just liked it. But it's, I think $28 a month, and I get a certain amount of hours per that month. So that's why I also keep it up to an hour, because if I exceed that, I have to pay more money or get a bigger plan.
Right.
But I don't mind. If you want to keep talking, it's fine. I'm learning a lot. But yeah, I do think about those things, for example, because $28 a month is quite a bit for me already. Yeah. That's just one thing. That's just Buzzsprout. I have other things that I use for my writing. It's like, $14 or whatever. I also have an artist that I pay. That's another one of my expenses. I have more than just my phone bill, I guess, and my rent. Since the podcast, really, my expenses have grown.
Yeah. And they will, because you got to think about it too. Like, and I would recommend that for anyone who's doing art, is like to think about it like kind of like a business. And when you treat it like a business, like is this expense necessary? Is it an investment into what it is I'm trying to do? Usually in your head, you can justify it. Like I'm sure people can justify anything if they think about it long enough. But yeah, anything that you do will cost money. So
exactly.
yeah, running this podcast will cost you money. But I guess the idea is eventually you put in all this free time, and then eventually you get what's called like ROI, which is like your return on investment. So you eventually get something back.
All of my equipment, all of my tea that you see here, all of it.
That's a huge selection of tea.
Yeah, the Earl Grey ones. These ones are from my brother for my birthday. These are from his girlfriend. Yeah.
Nice.
I got this myself. Yeah.
Nice.
Anyways,
What kind of tea are you drinking right now?
I'm not. This was a coffee. Usually we drink tea, but you
I know. I
brought-
was just trying to like.
Did you
make sure
want
everyone
tea?
knew that.
Oh yeah, I'm drinking coffee. Usually I drink tea. Ben brought a coffee.
Yeah.
I was tired. I had a podcast earlier today too. I was having tea. Maybe I shouldn't say that I podcasted twice today because it ruins the illusion. But you know what? I don't have a lot of time, and sometimes I have to do that. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's fair. I just wanted to call you out on it because I feel like my thing is coffee. So, and I knew that your thing was tea. So I specifically brought a coffee, and you ended
a
up
lot
getting
of coffee.
Yeah.
But usually when I do podcasts, I'll have both just because it's a tradition. And I feel bad. But no, I really needed a coffee today. I'm also I don't feel well. But anyways, more questions.
Are you ready to talk about your debt?
I'm ready to talk about my debt.
Okay.
Excuse me if I just start crying. It's just because I'm sick. My eyes are watering. It's not because I'm upset.
Okay, so I'll start by saying one of the worst kinds of debt is credit card debt.
Okay.
Which is why we have to circle back to this.
Okay.
And I cannot let you off the hook until we
Yes.
talk about it at length. No, not length, but you know.
No, go for it.
So the reason why it's one of the worst kinds of debt is because the interest rate is so high. It's like depending on your credit card, it can be up as high as like 19, 20, 21%.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like if I could start a business and I could lend money to people and charge them at 21%, I would love to do that business because it's almost like it's like a criminal thing. Like it's so ridiculously high.
Yeah.
You can't make that kind of money anywhere. Like
Yeah.
the kind of investing I do in the stock market or things that are really safe, they don't grow that fast at all.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can't come up with 20% anywhere.
Okay.
So the reason why it's so bad is because it's basically like you're getting into a hole, and because of that such a high interest rate. First of all, if a lot of people pay only the minimum, if you check the bottom of your credit statement, it'll say like the minimum payment this month is like $10.
Yep.
And if you check somewhere on that page, like I'm with TD Bank, I can see where it is on mine in my head, in my credit card statement. It'll say like there'll be a little asterisk and say, if you continue to pay the minimum, you will pay this credit card bill off in like 35 years.
Yeah.
Like it takes forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's because of that super high interest rate.
Yeah.
So the main thing is, I would say to anyone is if you have credit card debt, like squash it as soon as possible because it's like this hole that you get sucked into. And obviously you have expenses. Like next month, you're going to have expenses as well. Maybe not on your credit card, but you still have to pay rent and groceries and all that kind of stuff. So it's harder and harder to come up with money, especially if the money that you owe is growing at such a high rate.
Yeah.
So this is the gray area where I would say like do anything you can to come up with that money and pay it off as soon as possible, including begging and like annoying your parents and saying like, I have this credit card debt. I need X number of dollars. I got to pay this thing off.
Yeah.
Or bugging your friends or like anyone.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible advice. Ask my friend. You just told me to ask my friends for money.
Anything short of stealing, I would recommend.
What? This has taken a turn. Did not expect this. Okay. I'm getting the point that you're making though is like I need to pay this debt off ASAP.
Yeah.
My credit card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because,
I will.
Because when you were saying earlier, you were saying that you had your credit limit was always like, let's say like I think it was like $1,000.
Yes,
you said
1,000.
earlier, up until recently. Then you bumped it up to
2,000.
Like it's one of those things where you really just have to have control over in terms of paying it off like every single time. And you got to think about your credit card like a debit card.
Okay. So what do you recommend? If I need to make big purchases, you recommend I use my credit card and then immediately transfer my money to my credit card and pay it off? Or like, what is even the point of a credit card then?
So the point of a credit card...
Or do you think I should not have one?
I'll tell everyone, this is the point of a credit card. The point of a credit card is to get money out of your wallet or your purse faster. That's the point. It's not to help you. It's for businesses to get money out of you faster. It's less of a barrier for you to pull out money and say, oh, I don't have enough cash for this. I'll be right back. I go to the bank, get some cash. They don't want you to do that. They want you to tap your card or swipe your card and just like get that purchase right now. And then coming up with the money is not their issue. They know that they'll eventually get the money from you, and they'll make more money off of you because they charge such a high percent.
Yeah. But so you think that I shouldn't have done that, but then if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have been able to get this camera, and I wouldn't have been able to make my content until like, who knows, months later down the road.
So that's true. In your current situation right now, yes. I think that you would not be able to get a camera, and you'd have to wait X number of months before you actually can afford that.
And
but
do you think that would have been the right decision?
I don't think there's a right or wrong decision. I was saying earlier, I don't like judge people's decisions.
Okay.
But I know in my own personal life, like I treat my credit card, like I keep asking them to raise my credit card limit, but I never ever spend the full amount on my credit card.
To keep building your credit?
Yeah. So the higher your credit
score
limit and the lower you spend every credit card bill, the higher your credit score is.
Okay.
So like if you can bump yours up to like 5,000 or 6,000 or 8 or whatever, and you still only use like 1,000 every month, then your credit score goes up and up and up. Which
is good for what? Buying a home? Buying a car?
To be honest, like it's good for buying things on credit, which I don't recommend doing. So I've always improved my credit score. I don't actually know what I'm going to use it for. I know it comes into, like, we rent our place right now. So I know it comes into that. Like you show your credit score to your landlord so that they know to rent to you or not. Other than that, like it helps you borrow money and things like that.
But you don't do any of those things.
No, because those are bad for you.
So why do you keep building your credit score if you're never going to actually use it for anything?
Well, at some point I may actually take out a line of credit at some point if it makes financial sense. Because to me, it's always like money sitting in your pocket. There's a few rules I learned from my parents. Money sitting in your pocket will always find a job, so it'll always get spent somewhere.
Right.
Unless you give it a job, it'll like find something. Like you'll end up just spending it on whatever.
Right.
The other thing is money sitting somewhere is actually losing its value over time, and that's why, for example, the minimum wage. That's why they have to keep bumping it up, because if you keep paying the minimum wage for the next 20 years, that value. What is the minimum wage right now?
$14 an hour.
So $14 an hour.
I love how you don't know that. I want to be you when I grow up.
That's where I want everyone. This is why I want to get people. I want to help everyone. So $14 an hour, like 20 years from now, is going to be worth way less. That's why our like great grandparents or grandparents are always like, oh, I used to be able to buy bread for a nickel or something like that, right?
Exactly.
So money over time loses its value. So money sitting in your savings account is actually like shrinking slowly. It doesn't seem like that. It just sits in your bank and it's the same value every year. Maybe they give you like a tiny amount of interest, so you see the number increase like $1 every year or something like that. But it's really actually shrinking, and it shrinks at about 3%, if anyone's interested, like 2 or 3% every year, which is crazy. So really, like in part of your argument for more money at your job, you should be saying, like, the rate of, it's called inflation. That's what this thing is. So you can say like the rate of inflation, or the cost of living is like going up by like 2% every year, and you're not even increasing my pay by 2%. So you're paying me less every year. Yeah. Which is crazy. Yeah. But businesses get by like doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just have to get this off my chest just because I'm thinking about it. I have my artist Fanny doing an illustration of you, and I have a certain process that I go through Instagram. So I think I'm going to be posting this on Wednesday. I was just thinking of Fanny's not going to be able to get the artwork to me until tomorrow, so I wouldn't be able to post it today. Sorry, I had to let that out because I kept saying that I was going to post it today, but I'm not.
What time do you post?
Anytime that I can.
Okay.
Because my schedule changes. I try to get up early and post it early, but sometimes I'm tired and I can't get up.
I totally get that.
So I don't think anyone's just like sitting waiting for me to like 8 a.m.
Someone out there right now is.
Maybe.
They were like, I waited all morning for this.
Yeah.
And I thought that Jelena was going to be talking the whole time, but there's this other guy talking.
Yeah. It's good. But no, this is going to be Wednesday's episode.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what she comes up with. I'm always excited to see what she comes up with. You know how I met her?
No, how'd you meet her?
So I didn't actually meet her. She's from Hungary and she lives in Hungary. Oh. I haven't physically met her. But do you know who Curtis Connor is?
No.
Curtis Connor is a comedian and he just became a really big YouTube star. He's from Toronto.
Oh, wow.
And he does amazing. He just hit over 1 million subscribers. And I follow him and I was watching his story and he posted in his story an illustration done by Fanny, and I went to her account, and she had like under 100 followers. So I messaged her, and I wanted some commission work done from her, and we've been working together ever since.
Nice.
And she's lovely.
That's awesome.
She's a university student, and I send her pictures of the people I interview, and she illustrates them for me, and I love her.
That's awesome.
Shout out Fanny from Hungary. Yeah.
Shout out Fanny.
Yeah. And it's always those hidden gems, right? Like those people that have like, she had like 90 followers, and I was like, she's it.
Yeah, those are the real people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, where were we? So your advice for me is higher income or more income.
Yeah, finding ways to make more money.
Finding ways to make more money. So I guess I'm getting a third job.
Or selling stuff. Selling stuff is also another option, but you have to have stuff to sell.
Exactly. I have nothing to sell. This brand new camera I just bought.
Yeah.
And then paying off my credit card. So far, those two things I need to tackle.
Yeah.
I'm on it already. I already sent that email today. Give me that raise. I'll let you know.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to know.
I will tell you. Anything else?
You know, another thing I've been thinking of, sorry, not specifically like for your, well, I mean, maybe it'd apply. So I keep talking to, you know how there's this discussion around like the difference between how men and women are being compensated. Maybe not with minimum wage, but with like,
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Okay. So in other
it.
roles, like
yes, absolutely.
there's an argument that women are being compensated less than men for the same kind of tasks and responsibilities and stuff like that. And just like completely anecdotally, and there's no facts behind this, but just anecdotally talking to people that I know, there almost seems to be a need to have like a salary negotiator come in for you and talk to your boss with you sitting there. So you don't have to say anything. And this person will come in and like argue on your behalf why you should have a better raise. Because I think a lot of people actually don't want to ask for more money. They have like this aversion to that topic, which I do as well. Like I don't like asking people for money except for in a business situation. Because I think that it's fair.
Yeah. So do you think women have a harder time asking for money?
I just completely anecdotally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just from like completely informal poll of just casual talking to a bunch of people, both men and women. Like I find that it just, there is from my experience, like there's that sense of anxiety and there seems to be less among the men that I know, although some still have that anxiety.
So what I hear you saying is that it's our fault.
No, it's not your fault. No.
I'm joking. That was clearly a joke. But okay.
Yeah. And I don't know why, like but, and this is obviously not a fix to the problem, but there seems to be like a need for that kind of service, like almost like you just call someone in and they come in and they just like sit there in a suit and you sit, like you've talked to them beforehand, like a lawyer or something like that.
Yeah. Does this happen?
They just talk on your behalf. I don't think so. No, I don't. I've never heard of it, but I'm thinking about starting that service because I want people to be paid what they should be paid.
Yeah.
In terms of business, like I think it's just fair. Like otherwise, you could be taken advantage of, like, financially. So.
Absolutely. Huh.
Yeah. I don't know how we got on that tangent, but you got to pay off your credit card debt.
I will. I'm stressed now. No, I'm actually not stressed. What else?
So we covered making more money. We covered possibly like reducing your expenses.
But how? We didn't really cover that.
So I think
I don't have that many expenses.
Right. So in your case, you were saying that you don't break even, but you come a little bit ahead every month.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, like I would say, literally painstakingly sit down, get a big piece of paper, write it all out, wherever your income's coming in for that month, how much you're actually making that month. Write down all your expenses, what you're spending it on, like transit, rent, groceries, all that kind of stuff. Jot it all out, write down all the numbers, take the difference, and hopefully you're making more money than you're spending. And in any case, if you are or if you aren't, it's great to go through that expenses and just say like, and don't forget about the stuff like that slips through, like Netflix and your phone bill and like little subscription things, because usually it's the subscription things that like
add up,
that you don't think about, and they really add up like at the end of the year.
I haven't used my Scriptworthy in a while, and it takes money from me every month. But luckily, my brother pays for my Netflix and my iTunes.
So one huge thing I recommend, and just the way that you phrase that, I'm going to totally steal that. So you said, what was that? You had something that takes money from you every month. What was that called?
Scriptworthy. It's a program.
Okay. So that thing takes money from you every month. I do the exact same thing, but to strengthen my finances. So for my bank account, I set up an automatic transfer which takes money from me every month and puts it into another account.
Mm-hmm.
So that ensures that I save a certain amount every month, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, and it works differently for different people. If you have like a steady stream of income, or like, you know what your paycheck's going to be every month reliably, it works better, but it can work in any case. So what this looks like is your job would pay you, like, let's say, halfway through the month and at the end of the month. So like every 2 weeks or something. And then you can set up with your bank and say, like, automatically transfer a certain percentage, whatever amount you want, like $100 or $50 or more, from my account into another account, like a savings account, and just do that every day that I get paid. So it'll happen in the middle of the month, and it'll happen again at the end of the month. And what you'll find is, because you don't even know, I mean, if you log in to your bank account and check that it's happening, you'll see it. But a lot of times you just forget that you're moving this money away from yourself, just like a subscription service.
Yeah.
And at the end of the month, at the end of 6 months, at the end of the year, you'll literally have a bank account with cash that you didn't know that you could free up.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that whenever I tell people to try this out, they're skeptical, because they're thinking, like, I can't even, like, I'm breaking even every month anyway. Like, there's no way I can take an extra $50 for myself every paycheck and move that away. Yeah. But when they try it, your mind adjusts. Yeah. Because the thing is, like, the government takes taxes from you, from your paycheck. Yeah. No matter what. So if they raised the taxes, you would complain, you would, like, scream, you would, like, throw your, like, phone across the room. Yeah. And then you'd have to pay it, because you have to pay it. Exactly. Yeah. So this is basically a tax on yourself. Yeah. For yourself. So it's kind of like investing in your future self. Yeah. And when you set this up, like, it works like a gem. Like, you'll I mean, I won't have enough money to buy a camera at the end of the year, but it's crazy. Depending on how much you move away from yourself, you can really save up for, like, a vacation, or like a computer that you needed, or a camera, or whatever. Like, it really depends how much you're moving away from yourself. And the crazy thing is that you adjust to it. So obviously, like, I know everyone out there is thinking, like, well, I only make the money that I make, and if I move some away from myself, I'm not going to have that money to spend somewhere. Yeah, exactly. And that's true. Like, the math adds up. Yeah. But really what ends up happening is you stop buying that one coffee that you didn't really care about buying. Right. Or it'll actually be something that is super low on your list of priorities. Like, it'll be something that you didn't actually know that you were spending money on, and then you'll end up saving that money.
So really, it's a lot about just changing your mindset.
Yeah. And like, building these little habits. So this is like a habit where you're constantly saving first. It's called paying yourself first. That's like the process.
But don't you think that this really might not appeal to people, that a lot of people don't want to change their lifestyle?
Oh yeah.
So it's like, it's what you're sharing isn't like this, like, luxurious, I'm going to have all this money if I do this. It's more of like the reality of things and what you actually should be doing. Because I think a lot of people are ignoring their situations and want to keep with their lifestyle and going out and spending money and going shopping and going on vacations and doing this. But what they're doing is not going to actually last them.
Yeah. Like, kind of like living for today and all the things that you want right now, but not, like, thinking about next month. Yeah. And that. Yeah. Yeah. The one thing, though, I will say is that, so the way that this works is, because it happens automatic and it kind of happens out of sight, out of mind. What I find happens is it's usually some item that's super low on your list of importance. So let's say, just for example, like you said, shopping and traveling, and let's say, like, buying barista coffee or something like that. Like, those are, like, super high on your list of priorities. You'll actually find out that you do all those things. You'll still do them. You'll still have the money for them. It'll actually be something else that's weird that you probably don't even know about right now. But as you start doing this, you'll be like, yeah, I don't know where I spent that $50 every single month, but now I move that money away from myself, and I have, like, there's not much of an adjustment to my lifestyle. Because honestly, I'll tell you, like, I started doing this myself as soon as I left university, or actually when I first got my first job, which I turned this thing on and off, but, like, have noticed, like, no change in, like, my lifestyle. Like, it's the exact same. I still go to work and ask for a raise, like anyone would, kind of at the end of every year or every other year or whatever. And every year you can bump up the percent that you're transferring away from yourself a little bit more. It obviously applies to certain people more than others if you're like working at different kind of jobs, but it's one of the most powerful things, I think, that you can do to build up savings and eventually build up an emergency account.
Is every year asking for a raise?
Is this automatic transfer thing.
Oh, so, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so you slowly, you transfer
Focusing
money
on
away.
that raise.
I've lost Jelena. She's like, what, did I say the right things in that email? I should panic and send like a follow-up email with like Ben's voice, like a voice email.
I bring you in to the pizza shop.
I'll do the salary
in this
negotiation.
Suit?
Yeah,
perfect.
Like, I'm here to negotiate Jelena's salary. She's done an excellent job this year.
These past 3 months.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would recommend that for everyone. I know it's kind of scary, and you think that you're going to start missing out on a lot of things, but when you actually try it, after like 3 months, you'll realize that you start building up like tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars, or depending on how high you put that number, like you'll start freeing up all this money that you can then use for stuff that you actually love doing. Yeah.
So what do you think about me opening up a TFSA account, even though I have no idea what I'm doing?
Okay. So this was, I think I talked to you on the phone once, and then I think that you started checking out like my videos and my Instagram and
I
stuff
watched
like
them
that.
all. I got a book that you recommended as well. I read the book. Didn't finish it yet.
I was surprised because I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people kind of catch the like enthusiasm, and like I think I talked them up a little bit, and then they like want to go home and do this, and then they may for like that evening, and then they just forget, and then they get discouraged, or it's like too complicated, because honestly like the industry makes it really complicated. But then they don't really follow through with it. And I think the next time I talked to you, you were saying like, hey, did you talk to a financial advisor? Is that what you said?
I talked to someone at the bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked to somebody at the bank, and you opened a TFSA account, and I was like, yes, like what kind of TFSA account did you set up? A savings or investing? And you were like, I don't know. And then you panicked.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
So a TFSA account is a tax-free savings account. It's a type of account that you can open. If you think of it like a basket, so you can put many things in there. You can put like just cash in there in a bank, like it's an account in a bank, and it's all tax-free. So if that account makes money, the money that it makes is tax-free. You don't have to pay tax on that ever, which is great. There's obviously limits on how much money you can put in there every year, and up to the maximum. But you can have two different kinds, basically. You can have a savings account, or like high interest savings account, or you can have an investing account. So those would be the two main different types. And a savings account or a high interest savings account is kind of like what we were talking about before, where you can put money in there, and if let's say it's a high interest savings account, it's making like 2% per year, which I think is pretty standard for high interest savings, maybe 3%. So that money will grow by, let's say, 3% by the end of the year, and whatever that money has grown to by 3% is tax free. So it's just, that money is yours. You can take it all out if you want, and now it's grown and it's free for you. An investing account is a little bit different. It's a little bit more advanced, and you can buy basically parts of businesses, or like a mutual fund, or different investments to grow your money. And when that money grows, it's also tax free. So there's like a huge advantage. You could, let's say you threw in like $1,000, and 5 years from now it becomes like $2,000 or $3,000. That's all the $2,000 that it grew to is all tax free. You can take it out and you can use that for whatever you want. Versus other types of accounts where basically tax the same that the government would tax anyone. If you make money, they're going to take like their share of it. So it's a really useful account for any kind of like short-term or medium-term savings. So like, let's say you had some like art project, you could be putting your money into a tax-free savings account, maybe with this like automatic transfer thing, and whatever it grows to, that's all your money. You can take it out, you can buy whatever supplies you need or equipment that you need to support like whatever it is that you're working towards.
Okay.
So what did you open? Was it an investing account? This is the quiz.
Oh, I think it was investing.
You had all that time to think about it.
I know, I didn't. Not really though. I was busy. My files are here. We're going into the drawer. Hopefully it says it.
It was like literally.
Do you guys hear me
top.
Opening this out? It was literally
at the top. It's like one beige envelope at the top of the drawer.
It's the only.
It's where Jelena keeps all her financial stuff.
And the only financial stuff. All right, what does this say? I'm a female. My birthday. Okay. What the hell did I do? I actually don't even know where to look. Risk level, medium. Asset allocation, income, 55%. Growth, 45%. Investor profile, balanced. Is this making any sense to you?
Yeah,
is this giving
I know
you
what
information?
it is. I'm trying to see if you can.
Oh, so you already know?
Yeah.
Investing.
As you're reading through, I'm letting you figure it out because it's important that you know.
Okay. Comfort balance portfolio. That's my plan. I don't know, Ben. Investing?
Yeah, it's an investing account. And I think you said like medium risk.
Yeah, medium risk.
And I think the other thing you said, the comfort something, I think that's like whatever they called it. So, so it's a TFSA investing account.
Yeah.
And medium risk, which is good. Generally, like if you're pretty young, like we're both pretty young in terms of our lifespan.
Yes.
You want to go like medium risk if you're super risk averse. Like I'm actually super risk averse. And I usually go like medium risk with stuff. And the whole thing about risk is you're going to see your money go up and down.
Yes.
Because now
I already have.
Oh, okay.
Like a few cents. It was weird. Does
So,
that make sense?
Yeah.
Sense. Anyways, go on. I had to catch that.
You're going to see your money go up and down no matter what. And the whole idea is if you take certain approaches to investing, like that money that you put in there and the more money that you put in there, you're going to probably leave it in there for like 30 years or something.
Yeah.
You can take money out if you want to, but the best thing for retirement or...
Mine is like 6 to 10 years that I plan on leaving it in.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah. And that's actually like recommended. Like I wouldn't actually go, I'm not going to recommend any kind of financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor or any kind of background like that.
She was really proud of me at the bank. She said similar things that you were saying. She's like, I'm really impressed that you're here. I said, thank you.
But you didn't know what you got.
But I didn't know what I was doing. But she was like, like a lot of people like come to me later in life and they're like, she was saying a lot of things that you were saying. So I felt good even though I didn't know what was going on. And I felt like an idiot. But I don't know. It's nice to have people telling me I'm doing the right thing. Blindly.
It's like, come in, trust us.
Yeah.
Trust us with your money.
Yes.
And we'll compliment you.
It's working.
We're gonna have to circle back to him 1 second. I just thought about something.
Okay.
But yeah, so 6 years, 5 years, something around there, like as a minimum that you want to put the money in, that's awesome because now, so basically you are the proud owner of an investment in a public market, which is like the stock market.
Yes.
And the whole thing about that is you don't have any control over it anymore. So
That's right.
It's a little bit, that's why there's risk.
Yes.
And you don't really know what's going to happen. That's why people compare it to gambling. The reason why I would not compare it to gambling is because you can control your risk. That's basically the only thing you can control. You can control how much you put in. You can control the risk that it's invested in, and then you can control when you want to sell it.
But it still kind of is like gambling, isn't it?
So gambling, the true definition of gambling is that, first of all, the true definition of gambling, I'm pretty sure, is that it's a game of chance, which means like you don't control the outcome. And specifically with the gambling that we're all talking about, like casinos.
Yes.
It's actually like stacked against you. So they have a bit of an advantage.
Okay.
And that's why they're so big and shiny and have all these neon lights because they have money coming in like crazy. So with investments in like a stock market, you want to put your money in and you want to have an idea of when you want to take it out. You want to have an idea of the kind of risk that you want it to be invested in, specifically because, for example, you said that you checked on it and it went down by a few cents or it went up by a few cents. Yeah. It's going to do that like a million times. So if you check it every single day, you're probably going to cause yourself a little bit of anxiety, especially the more money that you put into it. When we see really bad times like 2008, that's when the stock market goes down and everyone's panicking because like all their...
And they all go and take out their money?
Yeah.
And then it's the wrong move, right?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, the reason why the market went down is because people took out their money, and then because people took out their money, it went down further. Yeah. So, and I can say this because I think based on all our ages, and I probably your listeners, like I don't think anyone... I mean, maybe, but they haven't probably been invested in the stock market during like a 2008 crash. Right. So seeing...
I would have been 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having your money, like let's say you had $10,000 in the stock market and it crashed and it went down like half, like 50%. You log in one day and it's like $10,000 like it was yesterday. And then you log in like a week later and it's like 5,000.
Oh my God.
Like,
oh my God.
Like I could have spent that money on a vacation, or I could have spent that money on a TV and like whatever.
Exactly.
So that's why people panic and they pull their money out. But everything in between when you put your money in and when you take your money out is kind of fictitious. So it's kind of pretend in the sense that it's not real. Like if the market went up and then it went back down to exactly where you entered and then you took your money out, you made no money. You also didn't lose any money because you came in and out at the same price. Yeah. If it went way up and you took your money out and you had it in your TFSA, like your tax-free thing, you get all that money and it's tax-free. If the market went down and you take your money out, it makes it real, and you've now lost like $5,000 in this like example.
Yeah.
So the key thing is to be non-emotional about your investments. So you're investing this money for like 30 years from now or 10 years from now or whatever. And so you almost like, you kind of almost like don't want to look at it until then. Like that's the best thing you could probably do. As long as you're
it's right
invested in
there when I
something good.
log into my bank account. It's right there. I can't really avoid it.
And that's the thing too, is that
It's not like on the next page. They really should, like you have to swipe right, like on Tinder. You swipe right and then you can like see it and reject it.
That's like the new modification aid for our generation is like the swipe right to investments.
Yep.
So
be more familiar.
That's actually a point. I'm going to circle back to what I was talking about before with the like biased advice. So it's kind of the same thing. So when you log in, you see your account there. Banks can make money off of when you transact or like buy or sell stocks. They can make like $9 every time you buy and sell, for example.
Okay.
So it's in their interest that you buy and sell every single day. It's also in their interest that you like panic and then sell because they make some money and all that kind of stuff, because they're like a middle person. They don't make money off of you if you buy and you hold it for like 30 years and then you sell once for like $9. That's like the transaction fee and that's it. And you get to take your money out and live happily ever after. So that's why there are certain things that encourage you to like interact with your investments. And again, this is not advice. This is just like my approach. I always like think long-term and I invest like in terms of value and low risk, lower medium risk.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think you made a good choice. Like medium is good as long as you can stomach it if things go bad in the next like few years.
I'll just leave it. That's what.
Yeah.
Keep talking. I have to close the window because now I'm cold.
Okay. So yeah, that's like, if you think about it in terms of like not interacting with your investments, if you buy an investment, like a huge investment, and you literally go into a coma for 30 years and you wake up, nothing in between mattered, and you wake up 30 years later, your investment, like if we look at past historical trends, like the market keeps going up. Obviously, past trends don't predict the future. But over the last 30 years, like it's grown tremendously. Like I can't remember the amount, but there's all these fun like online calculators called compound interest calculators. You can just Google it, Google compound interest calculator, punch in a number, give it like a 10% interest rate, punch in 30 years and just see the growth of that like $1,000. It's insane. So that's kind of the way you want to think about it, is you buy your investments, you keep buying them, keep putting the money in, and then you think about it like you're gone into a coma and you're just going to take the money out later on. That's for retirement. If you're saving for like some kind of medium term thing, like you have some dream and you want to fund it, then you need to start thinking about it within the next like 5 years. But the shorter the time span, the more risk you usually encounter. So if you're trying to turn like $100 into $1,000, that's really risky, and you're probably more likely going to lose your $100. So medium risk and stuff like that is more like predictable.
Okay. I'll try to take that all in. I need to sit with it for a while, I think. Any other important advice for me? I think we're going to try and go to 1 hour and a half. I think we're going to peak there.
Is that a record?
Yeah.
Okay.
100% it is. And also I need to lower my expenses, right? So I don't want to have to raise that Buzzsprout plan.
Yeah.
So 130, we're capping it at that.
Okay.
Any other last words? Big pieces of advice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something
for the starving artist.
We should probably end on like a happy note.
Yeah.
So definitely not credit card debt or any kind of debt topic.
Is there anything happy about money?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's like, I think a lot of what I was taught and a lot of what I'm trying to teach other people is that, so first of all, there's all these negative connotations with money, like money is evil, money's the root of all evil, like that saying. People that like money are bad people, they're greedy, blah, blah, blah. Like there's all these things.
That's how I grew up. That's what I was taught.
Yeah. And it's not true. Like money tends to accentuate who you are. So if you're like a great person and you have a lot of money, you're going to do more great things with your money.
I would hope so.
I think so. I honestly,
you just become pure evil. Me, like malicious.
I don't think so.
I get this raise,
if it does, it's because that's who you were deep down.
Yeah.
Jelena was secretly like Dr. Evil this whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it basically just reveals who you are, kind of thing. So that's, I mean, obviously that's not great if you're a bad person, but if you're a great person, it empowers you to do more great things. So for example, if you're an artist and you want to get like some kind of positive message out there, or share your art or whatever, and you have more money at your disposal, it's just going to empower you to be able to spread that further, like get it in front of more people, spread that message more, like host more events, like all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, that's the way I think about it. Like, I mean, obviously there's you know, like general connotations of like greed with money. And if you ask for money or more money at your job, like you're greedy and you want more for yourself, but it depends what you do with your money. And I feel like that's the more important thing. Okay. And I feel like everyone knows that deep down, like they know, I mean, first of all, I think everyone thinks that they're a great person or a good person at least.
Yeah. Well, I know that I am.
That's why I started this podcast, to share that with the world.
Pretty much.
But yeah, so I think it's like it amplifies who you are, and I think everyone out there knows if they're a good person or not. And and I encourage you to just educate yourself with personal finances. I know that I'm actually pretty sure that Jelena, I can see it in her eyes that Jelena is actually going to like continue with this. Yes. I've talked to so many people and I can tell that either they're caught up in the hype or they're like actually absorbing it. And I think that Jelena's like absorbing it leaps and bounds.
Yes, I am. Just scared.
And I'm also going to be checking, so like, I'll keep tabs on her and make sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you posted. Don't worry. We're in this now together. I hold you responsible for my success.
All right.
But no, I feel positive. I also feel a little bit stressed, but also hopeful.
Yeah. And actually, can I plug my channel? Of
course.
Okay.
He has a great channel, by the way. I watched all of them. Every single one.
You.
I also watched a bunch. I don't know if I watched them all, but a bunch of your highlights on your Instagram. So Ben just gives like free advice. So it's silly like not to listen because it's good advice, just like this whole episode was. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't have been talking to him for an hour and a half. But no, really, it's great. And I was kind of skeptical at first, but the more that I watched your YouTube channel and the more that I paid attention to your stories and what you were sharing, the more it made sense why you're interested in my audience because of the position that a lot of us are in with money, postgraduate, debt, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, plug your channel.
Okay, so my Instagram is @ben.garden. Garden is like your backyard garden. I always get that spelled wrong. I don't know why. It's like super easy.
Really? How do people spell it usually?
I always think it's Gordon or like gardener. It's like,
why?
No, it's just ben.garden.
It's just exactly like when I say my name and then they still say it wrong. I'm like Jelena and then it's like Jelena. I'm like, I just said it for you. Yeah.
And then I have no idea how to get you to my YouTube, but if you just search Benjamin Garden.
You don't know how to get there?
I don't have like a unique link or whatever. But if you go to benjamingarden.com is like my website, which probably get to YouTube on there as well.
And it'll just prompt you through.
Yeah, or if you go to my Instagram.
Yeah, if you just go to your Instagram, you have it on your bio.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally get like why people may be skeptical at first because it's not common that people give free advice that's actually like valid stuff.
Yeah.
And I charge nothing for information specifically so that people either know that it's not biased, which I think also weirds people out because it's like, why are you doing something free for nothing? Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But like I was saying before, like I hit 30 and I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life is just help and educate people around a specific topic because it's something that I know so well.
Right.
So whether I retire super early or late or like try and start a business or whatever, I'm probably still going to be talking about finances for free, like probably forever.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys made it to the end of the podcast. This was a long one. We're about to hit an hour and a half. It's also like a special episode. Ben really got to like interview me instead of me doing an interview of an artist. But I think it's important because, like I said in the very beginning, we're trying to take the starving art of the starving artist and just leave it as artist. And I think Ben's given us some good steps to get there. I'm already taking the steps. And I've shared with you my debt, my checkings account, my TFSA, how stupid I am. I've shared everything. So I think if I'm willing to share, at least, give it some thought and do the opposite of what Ben was saying a lot of people do, and just like get caught up in the hype and never really take action. Really just like maybe you can change something in your life that will save you a bit of money. And I think this carries on to all of my other podcasts, where mindset is kind of everything and it'll take you the furthest. So having a good mindset, having the right mindset. And I think you can only get better with the more knowledge that you gain. Your mindset will only get better because you know more, you're more enriched. Yeah. So I hope this was good for all of you, and talk to you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.
It's psychological hustle, I gotta battle these comments like the kid got no muscle. They keep on bursting my bubble. Now every morning when I wake up, only me in the huddle. So batter up, you know I'm hitting the double. You know I'm running the bases, I know I gotta embrace it. Like a girl without a top, just kinda sitting on your lap. Boy, what you do? Girl, I rap nasty. Maybe one day I'll say chase to the paparazzi. It's psychological hustle, be prepared for anything and everything. It'll tear you down, it'll tear you down. It's psychological hustle, psychological hustle, psychological